The forest was quiet. Only the sound of wind moving through the trees could be heard. Birds were gone. Animals didn't come here anymore. It was cold, lonely, and dark, just the way Jake liked it. He moved carefully, placing a metal trap on the ground. It was something he built himself. A small cage with a motion sensor and a net. He didn't hunt animals to eat them, not anymore. He hunted for anything strange. And lately, very strange things were happening. 3 nights ago, he saw a bright light fall from the sky. It wasn't a star. It moved like a ship. It crashed somewhere near the edge of the forest. Jake didn't go immediately. He waited. That's how he survived, by watching first, acting later. But now he was ready. Jake placed the last trap and walked back to his small wooden shelter. It wasn't much, just 4 walls, a roof, and a small heater. He sat by the window, holding his old rifle, watching the trees, waiting. Then night came. At midnight, the trap alarm beeped once. A soft red light blinked. Jake stood up fast. Something was caught. He grabbed his gear and ran through the trees. His boots made no sound on the wet ground. The trap was about 200 meters away, hidden near a small hill. As he got closer, he slowed down. He heard soft sounds, breathing, movement, but not like an animal. He stepped forward and stopped. Inside the trap, there was a girl. She was sitting on her knees, both hands holding the net. She looked up at him. Her eyes glowed silver in the dark. Jake stepped back in shock. She was ... not human. Her skin had a soft, blue glow. Her hair looked like silver threads. Her clothes were strange, torn, tight, with small lights on the arms. She looked hurt. Her leg was bleeding. She didn't speak. Jake pointed his flashlight at her face. She winced and turned away like it hurt her eyes. He lowered it. "What are you?" he asked quietly. She just looked at him. Her eyes were full of fear. She tried to move back, but the trap held her tight. Jake thought, should he let her go? Was she dangerous? But she looked so weak, so scared, and she was shivering. He sighed. "All right, I won't hurt you." He cut the net carefully. The girl didn't move. When the trap opened, she still didn't run. Jake put out his hand. Slowly. "Come on, let's get you out of here." She looked at his hand like it was a weapon. Then, slowly, she touched it. Her fingers were cold, like ice. Jake helped her stand. She was taller than he expected. Maybe his age, maybe younger. She couldn't walk properly. Her leg was worse than he thought. He carried her. Back at the shelter, he laid her on a blanket near the fire. She looked around in panic, eyes jumping from wall to wall. Her body was shaking. Jake brought water in a metal cup. He offered it to her. She looked at it with wide eyes. Then she pushed it away. He understood. "You think I'm going to poison you, don't you?" Still no answer. He drank from the cup himself, then handed it again. She hesitated, then slowly took it. Her hands were trembling. She drank fast, like she hadn't had water in days. Jake gave her some bread. She stared at it for a long time, then ate slowly, watching him carefully. For the next few minutes, silence. Then finally she spoke, not in English. A soft, musical language, full of sounds Jake had never heard before. He shook his head. "I don't understand." She touched her chest. "Zura," she said. Jake nodded. "Zura, that's your name." She repeated it. "Zura," he smiled. "Okay, I'm Jake." She looked confused. Then slowly she pointed at him. "Jack. Close enough." He stood up and walked toward the window. He needed time to think. Who was she? What was she doing here? Was she the one in the crash? Suddenly, he heard a sound behind him. He turned. Zura had stood up. She was pointing at the fire, then at him. Her eyes were full of fear. She said something fast, too fast. Her voice was shaking. Jake didn't understand the words, but he understood the fear. Then she hugged herself like she was cold. Her eyes locked on him. She whispered something, then he understood. She thought he was going to eat her. Jake's eyes went wide. "No, no, no, I'm not going to eat you." She stepped back, her hands ready to fight. Jake held up both hands. "I'm not a monster. I saved you. You were in my trap by accident." She looked at him for a long time. Then, slowly, she sat down. Again. Jake breathed out. He didn't know who she was, but one thing was clear. She was scared of something worse than him, and it might still be out there. Asterisk. The night was quiet again, but not inside Jake's shelter. Zura sat near the fire, knees pulled close to her chest. Her eyes watched every shadow like it might attack. The flames danced on her face, showing both fear and pain. Jake watched from a corner, confused and curious. He had seen strange things since the world changed. Ships in the sky, creatures in the dark, but nothing like her. She wasn't just an alien. She looked ... lost and very alone. Jake spoke gently. "You're safe here, okay? I won't hurt you." Zura blinked slowly. She still didn't understand most of his words, but she could feel his voice. It was soft, not like the others. She whispered something again in a strange language. A soft, flowing sound, like water moving over glass. Jake couldn't understand. Then, she reached into a small pouch on her side. He tensed. Was it a weapon? No. She pulled out a small, round object. It glowed faintly, like a marble made of light. She placed it on the ground between them. Jake leaned closer. "What is that?" The ball opened on its own like a flower blooming. A thin beam of light shot up. showing a floating shape, a star map, planets, stars, and symbols danced in the air. Jake's eyes widened. Is this your home? Zura nodded slowly. She touched the biggest star. Her finger glowed for a moment, and the ball made a sound, a small chime. Then it spoke, a clear robotic voice. Translator ready. Language match. 68%. Beginning communication. Jake jumped back. Whoa, okay. Now this is cool. Zura looked at him. Her voice was calm, but her face was serious. Not from the hunters. Jake raised an eyebrow. What hunters? She stared at him like she was trying to decide something. Then she stood up slowly. I ran from the sky prison. They chased me. They want me back. Jake asked, why? She touched her arm. There were small marks, not like wounds, but like symbols burned into her skin. They made me, not born, built. Jake's mouth opened, but no words came out. You single quotes read ... A clone. Zura looked confused. Clone, maybe. They used me to test weapons, to see how much pain one body can take ... and still live. Jake felt a cold chill down his spine. She continued, but I escaped, crashed. You trapped me. Jake sighed. Yeah, sorry about that. Suddenly the translator flickered. The star map changed. One of the smaller dots started blinking. Red. Zura's face went pale. No ... They found signal. Jake stood up. What do you mean? Who? She stepped back from the glowing map. The hunters. They track energy. This place ... not safe. As she spoke, the wind outside howled louder. Jake moved to the window. The forest was still dark, but something felt wrong, like the trees were holding their breath, and they both heard it. A mechanical hum, distant, but getting closer. Zura grabbed Jake's arm. They send drones first, then ships. Jake rushed to the shelf and grabbed his rifle. Not today. She pointed to his gun. That weapon won't stop them. Their armor is alive. Jake gave her a smirk. Let them try me. Suddenly, a thump hit the roof. Zura screamed and backed away. Jake aimed the gun at the ceiling. Stay down. Another thump, this time on the door. Zura's translator beeped again. Warning, hunter signal detected. Proximity. 50 meters, she whispered. They found me. And now you. The door shook. Something was outside. Scratching. Clicking, almost. Sniffing. Jake looked at her. Can you run? She nodded, scared but ready. He threw open the floor hatch, a tunnel he had dug long ago. A backup escape. Go, he shouted. Up. Follow. Zura jumped in. Jake grabbed the glowing ball and followed her dot as he closed the hatch behind him. The door above exploded. Something big and not human dropped inside. But Jake and Zura were already crawling through the dark tunnel below. Darkness. Cold metal walls, a bright white light above her eyes. Zura screamed, but no sound came. Her mouth was open, but her voice was stolen. Her arms were tied. Machines moved around her, poking her skin, cutting her open, stitching her again. Test number 44, still alive. A cold voice said. She was just a number. Not a girl, not a person, just a test. Then came the worst sound. Metal footsteps, heavy, slow, like they didn't care what they stepped on. The hunters. They weren't like soldiers. They weren't alive in the way normal creatures are. They were machines with flesh. Their armor moved like it breathed. Their red eyes scanned everything, always looking for one thing. Escape. And Zura had escaped. She opened her eyes back in the tunnel. She was shaking. Dirt was in her hands. Jake crawled behind her, holding the glowing orb. His breath was loud and fast. You okay? He asked. She didn't answer. Jake noticed her face. Did you see something? She nodded slowly. My memory. I remember the lab. I remember them. Jake looked serious. Then we can't let them take you back. Behind them, the tunnel shook. Boom. Something had entered the shelter above. Jake pushed forward. Come on. This tunnel leads to the canyon. We'll be safe there. Zura followed. Her body still hurt. The wound on her leg was worse. But fear made her move. When they came out of the tunnel, the moon was high. A wide rocky canyon stretched ahead. The wind howled between the cliffs. Jake helped her climb up a ledge. They reached a small cave and hid inside. Zura sat down, breathing hard. They are close. Jake checked the orb. It blinked red again. Hunter signature. Distance 600 meters. Moving fast. They won't stop, she whispered. They never stop. Jake loaded his rifle. Then I won't stop either. Zura looked at him strangely. Why help me? Jake sat beside her. Because I know what it feels like. To be hunted, to lose everything. He looked out at the canyon. They took my home to Earth. Was full of cities once. People, lights now. Just ruins. Zura watched him. Then slowly, she reached out. Her hand touched his shoulder. A small spark glowed. Jake felt a soft warmth. His old shoulder injury, something from months ago, faded. The pain disappeared. The skin healed. He looked at her, shocked. You did that? She nodded. It's a defect. I was made as a weapon, but something went wrong. My body can heal others. They called it a failure. Jake laughed once. That's not a failure. That's a gift. But Zura's face was still sad. To them, kindness is weakness. Suddenly, a sharp sound came from the canyon floor, like claws on stone. Jake grabbed his gun and crawled to the edge of the cave. Below, moving between the rocks, was a hunter drone. It didn't walk, it floated slowly, scanning every surface. Its body was dark silver with red lights under the skin. Its eyes blinked in every direction. Then it stopped. It turned its head toward the cave. Jake held his breath. Zura whispered, "It senses me." Jake stood up. "Then we end this." He aimed his rifle, but the drone moved fast. It flew up toward the cave in seconds. Jake fired. The bullet hit the drone's side. It sparked but kept coming. Zura raised her hands. The orb in her lap began to glow. A strange pulse of energy shot out. Invisible but strong. The drone stopped midair. Its lights flickered. Then, boom, it exploded. Pieces fell into the canyon below. Jake stared at her. "You did that." Zura's hand was shaking. "I didn't know I could." She looked scared of herself, but Jake just smiled. "We're going to survive, Zura, you and me." She nodded slowly, but the orb spoke again. "Warning, 2 more hunter units detected. ETA, 2 minutes. Jake stood tall. "Then let's keep moving." Zura tried to walk, but her leg gave out. Jake caught her. "I'll carry you," he said. She looked at him with wide eyes. Why, he smiled. "Because you're not just an alien girl anymore. You're my friend." Zura's lips trembled. That word friend, she had never heard it before. Not like that. And behind them, in the dark, 2 more red eyes lit up. The real hunters were coming. The rocks behind them exploded. Dust and fire filled the canyon. Jake didn't look back. He just ran fast, holding Zura in his arms. Her body was light, but her eyes were heavy with fear. Behind them, 2 hunter drones moved like shadows. Their feet didn't touch the ground. They floated low, silent and deadly, scanning for energy. And Zura was glowing again, her power calling them like a signal. Jake's boots slammed against the ground as he jumped over a broken log. "Almost there," he shouted. Zura could barely speak. "They won't stop." Jake looked down at her. "Neither will I." They reached a crack in the canyon wall. Small, narrow, but just enough. Jake squeezed through, pulling Zura behind him. Inside, the air was cold. The sound of the drones faded. Darkness wrapped around them like a blanket. The narrow passage opened into a hidden cave. Huge, hollow, untouched for years. A shallow pool of water shimmered in the middle. Strange white roots grew from the ceiling, glowing softly. Zura gasped, "This is not made by Earth." Jake looked around. "I've never seen this place." She stepped forward slowly, limping. The roots above moved slightly, not like plants, more like they were watching. Zura kneeled near the pool. Her reflection shimmered strangely, her face pale, tired, unsure. Jake sat down beside her. He poured water from his bottle and handed it to her. "You saved me back there," he said. She looked away. "It was luck." Jake shook his head. "No, that pulse you sent, it came from you, not the translator, not your tech." Zura's voice was low. "I wasn't made to protect. I was made to endure pain. I was made to test weapons, lasers, heat, acid, mind pressure. They wanted to see how much a living thing could take before breaking." Jake's hands clenched. "They called me Project Vessel. Not a person, just a body," she said, her voice shaking. Jake looked into her eyes. They were wrong. She met his gaze. "Why do you care?" He pointed to a burn mark on his arm. "I've seen what cruelty looks like. I lost everything, and still, I'm alive. That has to mean something. Maybe I survived for this, to find you." For a moment, she didn't speak. Then she whispered, "I don't know how to be a person. I only know how to escape." Jake smiled gently. "Then we'll figure it out together." Suddenly, the pool of water shimmered again, not just from the light. Zura stood up quickly. "Something's beneath." Jake raised his gun. "What is it?" The water began to bubble. Slowly, something rose from below, not a creature, but a machine. A round metal sphere floated out of the pool, blinking blue. Zura stepped back. "That is not from the hunters." Jake aimed at it. The sphere scanned both of them, then spoke in a soft tone. "Code recognized. Hybrid presence detected. Rebooting interface." Zura's body tensed. "It knows me." The machine projected a light, a map, like the one before, but this one showed Earth, with red dots spread across the continents. Jake asked, "What are those?" The sphere replied, "Hunter outposts, searching for one target, Project Vessel." Jake looked at her. "There after you across the whole planet." Zura's knees weakened. "They will burn everything, just to take me back." The sphere continued. Recommendation: activate core defense. Subject Zura contains unlocked energy. Unknown source. Jake's heart skipped. "What energy?" Zura whispered. "I don't know. I didn't ask for it." The cave lights grew dim. Then, from the roots above, a small beam of light shot down and touched Zura's chest. She gasped, and her body lifted a few inches off the ground. Jake shouted, "Zura!" Her body began to glow again, but not blue this time. Golden. The roots pulsed softly, like they were charging her. Zura's eyes opened wide, her pupils now thin and glowing. Then, the energy stopped. She dropped to the ground. Jake rushed to her. "Zura, are you okay?" She sat up slowly. Her skin shimmered with new patterns. Her voice was deeper, calm, powerful. "They didn't create all of me," she said. "Something else is inside." Jake looked at her, breathless. What are you turning into? Before she could answer, the orb blinked red again. Alert. 3 hunter units approaching. ETA 90 seconds. Jake stood, loading his weapon. Zura rose beside him, power still glowing in her skin. This time she didn't look afraid. She looked ready. The air shimmered around Zira. Jake stood back, stunned. Her body still glowed, not just light, but power. Like the energy inside her had found a way out. It danced on her skin in golden patterns, slowly fading. She blinked once. I feel different, she whispered. Jake stepped closer. Are you okay? She nodded, but her voice was distant. It wasn't just energy. It was a memory, but not mine. Jake raised an eyebrow, then whose? She looked at him, and for the first time, she looked afraid of him. They didn't talk much as they moved. The cave exit led to a high mountain trail. Below them, a wide desert stretched under the night sky, full of rocks, dust, and silence. But far in the distance, on top of a cliff, stood something strange. A tall metal tower, broken and old. Jake pointed. That's an old satellite station. From before the fall, Zura looked at it with wonder. Can it talk to the sky? Maybe if anything still works. They climbed toward it. The path was hard. Jake helped her walk. She had healed a lot, but her strength still faded in waves. Zura looked at her hand. This glow, it's not just power. It's pulling memories from somewhere. Jake asked. Your past? No, yours. Jake stopped. Mine. Zura nodded. When I touched that energy, I saw something you on a table. Why is in your back, a man said. He's the first. The seed. Jake's face went pale. That can't be real. Zura's voice dropped. What if it is? The satellite. The station was mostly destroyed. Metal beams stuck out like broken bones. The wind howled through cracks. Old screens blinked, barely alive. Jake connected Zura's glowing orb to a rusted console. Lights came on. A humming sound started deep underground. Then, a voice. Welcome. Subject 0. Jake froze. Zura stared at him. It's talking to you. Jake stepped back. No, that's not possible. I'm just a survivor. I was a soldier during the fall. That's it. But the voice continued. Subject 0 status, stable, neural core, active memory block, 87%. Zura whispered. They erased your mind. The screen showed a file. Name, unknown. Project title, human origin hybrid seed. Purpose, reproduction of adaptive host for universal experiment. Jake's hands shook. No, this can't be me. Zura reached out and touched his chest. I felt it in your body. Your cells are like mine. Jake stepped back, eyes wide. So I'm one of them. Zura shook her head. No, you're the first. They moved deeper into the station. A small chamber opened. Inside, walls were covered in photos. Humans, scientists, soldiers, notes in different languages. In the center, a large tank, now empty. Jake stared at the tag on it. Project 0 status, escaped. I was grown. Like you, Jake whispered. But they dropped me into the war. I never knew. Zura looked at him gently. You still saved me. That's what matters. Suddenly her eyes closed. She gasped. Another wave of memories hit her. She saw a lab with glass walls. A boy inside, small, afraid. His face was blurry, but it felt like Jake. Then she saw a voice from above say, let's give the seed something to protect. Begin Project Vessel. Her eyes opened in shock. They made me for you. Jake turned slowly. When she stepped back. They didn't build me to be a weapon. They built me to bond with you, like a key. Jake's head spun. Why? What does that even mean? Before she could answer, alarms began to blare. Red lights flashed. The orb screamed. Incoming signal, unknown class. Not hunter, not human. Jake ran to the window in the sky. A ship hovered, massive, silent, and not like anything he had seen before. It had no engines, no lights, just smooth black metal, almost invisible against the stars. Zura's body began to shake. That's not the hunters, she whispered. Then who is it? She didn't know, but her body was glowing. Again. And this time, so was Jake's. The ship above them didn't move. It hovered silently, like a shadow painted into the stars. Jake stared through the broken glass of the satellite tower, his breath fogged in the cold air. Zura stood beside him, golden light, still moving across her skin. It's not the hunters, she whispered again. Jake nodded. And it's not Earth tech. Then the ship spoke. Not with sound, but directly into their minds. Return the vessel. Complete the program, or face reset. Jake clutched his head. The voice felt like ice pressing against his brain. Collapsed to her knees. I know this voice, she said, shaking. It's from my creation chamber. Jake helped her up. Who are they? She looked at him, frightened. The architects. They made the hunters. They made ... everything. A beam of blue light scanned the building. Jake pulled Zura into a side hallway. Lights flickered above. His grip on his rifle tightened, though deep down, he wasn't sure it would help. Zura leaned against a wall. Her glow was fading. She was getting weaker. They don't want me alive, she said. They want control. Jake looked at her. Control of what? She slowly turned her head to him. Me and you. Jake stepped back. I'm not like you, he said quietly. I wasn't made by them. She looked down. But you were different. You didn't follow their program. You escaped. You felt love. Jake's heart skipped. I didn't ask for this. I just wanted to survive. She looked at him sadly. Maybe that's what makes you dangerous. Suddenly the station door burst open. A figure walked in, not metal, not machine. It wore a black suit with glowing veins running through it. Its face was human, almost too perfect. Too still. It looked at Jake. Subject 0, it said calmly. Return the vessel. Final warning. Jake raised his rifle. She's not property, she's a person. The figure didn't blink. Incorrect. The vessel was coded to your neural key. She was never meant to think. Zura took a step forward. I do think. I choose. The figure turned to her. That's the flaw. Zura's hands glowed again, ready to fight. But before she could act, the figure whispered something strange. You think he saved you, but he was sent for you. Check his mind. Jake shouted. Don't listen to him. But Zura's eyes flared. Her powers reached toward Jake, not to hurt him but to read him. Memories rushed back, not just his but buried commands. Her voice broke. Jake, you were sent. They used you to find me. He froze. I didn't know, he whispered. Tears filled her eyes. But you're connected to them. I feel it. Part of you belongs to them. Jake backed away, hands shaking. That's not me. Not anymore. Zura turned from him. How can I trust that? The figure moved closer. Let the program finish. Together, you are the core. Alone, you are waste. Jake fired. The shot hit, but the figure's body folded, melted, reshaped like smoke. It grinned. Zura held her head. They're inside me. They're waking something. Jake looked at her desperately. Then let's run. But she shook her head. We'd been running since the beginning. Maybe we were never free. The figure raised one hand and Jake dropped to his knees. Pain tore through his body, like every memory inside him was being rewritten. Zura screamed, stop. The figure froze. She stepped forward, glowing like fire. I may be a vessel, she said, but I am no one's tool. With one hand, she reached into Jake's chest, not to hurt, but to break the code inside him. The pain stopped. Jake gasped. The voice in his mind went silent. Then the figure hissed. You've corrupted the seed, Zura replied. No, I set it free. The ship above the station charged a weapon. The tower shook. Zura turned to Jake. I broke your chains. Now break mine. Jake nodded. Let's finish this. Together they stepped outside, facing the ship, but something else waited for them. A second figure stood in the dust. Not a hunter, not an architect, but human. A woman with silver eyes. She smiled at Zura and said, hello, sister. The woman with silver eyes stood still. Her face looked like Zura's, same shape, same glow in the skin. But her voice, when she spoke again, was full of something colder. I was the prototype, she said. You were the perfected version. Zura's heart raced. Jake raised his weapon, but she touched his hand gently. Don't, she said. She's not like the others. The silver-eyed woman walked slowly through the dust. The huge alien ship still floated above them, silent now, watching. The architects didn't make me for healing, she said. They made me to command the seed. Jake tensed. Me, she nodded. You were always the core. The universe's living reset. Your DNA can erase or evolve entire planets. That's why they buried you in war. That's why they made her ... Zura stepped forward, voice shaking, ... to keep you under control. The silver-eyed woman smiled. No, to make you choose. Suddenly, the ship above changed shape. Panels opened across its body. A glowing structure rose from the center like a spire made of glass and light. They're activating the convergence, the woman said. If you don't stop it, Earth becomes a lab forever. Zura's eyes widened. So why are you here? The silver-eyed woman turned her silver gaze on Jake. Because I want to be free to. Inside the ship, the walls pulsed like veins. Jake and Zura entered the central core together. The woman stayed behind outside, guarding the tower from returning hunters. The ship was alive. It knew them. It welcomed them. Core recognition complete. Final decision sequence engaged. A light bridge formed. At the center, small glowing spheres, one red, one white. Zura heard the voice again, the same one that haunted her dreams. One sphere rewrites Earth, the other erases all architect technology, including you. Jake looked at Zura. That means you'll disappear, she nodded slowly. So will you. You're part of them too. Jake touched the white sphere. What if we choose neither? Then the hunters return. Earth becomes another broken test. Silence. Zura turned to Jake. You've always had the choice. Not them, not me. You. Jake looked at his hands, once used to fight, now trembling, with meaning. He looked at Zura, eyes glowing softly, skin scarred but still shining down. He did something the architects never planned for. He held her hand. No reset. He whispered, no erasure. Let the future be ... chosen, not programmed. And then he crushed both spheres. The ship screamed. Light burst from its walls, but instead of exploding, the energy folded into itself. The ship collapsed like a dying star, shrinking, vanishing, until there was nothing left but dust. Zura fell to her knees. Jake caught her, holding her close. Her body was fading, not in pain, not in fear, but in peace. I wasn't made to live long, she said softly. I was made for the moment when someone ... made a real choice. Jake's voice cracked. Stay, she smiled, glowing, fading. You made me real. She touched his chest. Her final energy flowed into him, and then she was gone. Jake woke up hours later. The sun was rising. The ship was gone. So was the tower. But the silver-eyed woman stood nearby, waiting. She's not gone, she said quietly. She's inside you now, like code rewritten. Jake felt his chest. A soft warmth still glowed. What now? He asked. The woman looked at the sky. Now you do what they never could. Jake raised an eyebrow. What's that? She smiled. Live and let others live. Final sign. Months passed. The earth began to heal. Plants grew where ruins once stood. Storms stopped. Skies cleared. Jake now lived in a small home on a hill, far from machines, far from war. He built a garden. Sometimes he heard her voice in the wind. Sometimes his hand would glow when he touched the soil. And one night under the stars, he saw a single glowing light fall across the sky. He smiled because this time it wasn't a crash, it was a return.